Hey everyone, Sawmill Charlie. Welcome to another Friday night bee chat. A little bit late, but we're still here. And it's a little bit on the humid side, but not too bad. Hey, Nancy and Roy and Mike, and there's Bill and Keith. Let me go ahead and drop the link in. Everybody come on in. Pin the message. And there's Ryan. Hey, Charlie, how's the honey supers looking? They are looking good. See them ones right behind me there? I got 1, 2, 3. There's 3 honey supers on there, and I think I got to go and put a 4th one on tomorrow. That's the Demarees. Let me see if I can get out of the way. Let me see. Got them down there. That's a pretty much a pretty good current picture. Here's Mr. Bill. Hey, Stephen, and all that. Yeah, let's see. We got Vincent and all that kind of stuff. Can you hear me, Bill?
Yep, I got you.
Hey, Roy. There's Gary over there in West Virginia. Who else we got on here? There's Bundy, Chris. There's Randy. There's misbehaving Mike. Hiving, not misbehaving.
Yeah.
There's David.
There's Bill Lee. Good evening. How are you today, Bill?
Yep. So we all survived the big grafting class last weekend.
Yep. And we all had some successes. So out of 50 cells, 28 of them took.
That's good. And I think pretty much everybody had at least one or more cells take, right?
Yes.
So that's, hey, Ben. And now that's pretty darn good for some. I mean, I know some folks there that some of them, I guess it was their first time, and some of them,
some of them actually mutilated the larva pretty good. I'm going to say it that way.
True.
But, everybody had some success. So, and that was the important part, is getting everybody used to doing it and seeing it and starting to work on it.
Yeah, and we did. Hey, Dean, and we did different. What do you call it? Different grafting tools. Chinese. I know Darren from Pennsylvania Beekeeper. He did some with the what is it? The German tool.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. And all that kind of stuff. I was trying to find.
So, Gary, I need to say thank you for the check that you sent me the other day. I appreciate it.
And all that. I'm trying to find somebody's. There's Dodd and John.
Yeah, there's some new ones on here this evening I haven't seen before.
How do you pronounce it? Granado honey?
Granado.
And I know who it is. And he's been on my show, and I can't find him because he changed his name.
Oh.
As far as his handle goes, he's out in Texas. It's Jeremy. I'm pretty sure. And all he was going out of the bee business, then he got back in the bee business. There's Brian.
Hey, Brian.
I think the wife found out there was more money into it than what she thought.
Exactly. There's Sarah from Burke Meadow Farms.
So anyway, I think we all had a good time. I know that Clay was there from the chat.
Yep. Clay, Darren, Will, you, and of course now, and JT and Kathy were there. But they were only there for one day.
Hey there,
So,
Jared.
hey, Jack and Danette.
So, Jared, you'd say, okay, Jeremy, you shipped her home back to Alabama, huh?
Yep.
I'll be dog. You just had a baby last year, and she just took a check out on you, man.
Wow.
He's got several other children.
That's why I'm no longer queen bees. I like that one.
Yeah, Billy Lee, it's in the 80s here. It was kind of humid today.
Yeah, it was in the 90s here.
And
We had a
hey, Eddie.
We had a shower this afternoon. They're calling for rain tonight.
Now they're calling for it here, but I ain't seen nothing. And the skies are clear. Let me see. Eddie Besh. I'm terrible with names. Besh. How you pronounce that, Bill?
Beshoner.
Beshoner. I think you're new, Eddie. I'm not sure.
Hey, Clay.
Welcome if you are new, Eddie. So, like I say, we had a good time, 2 days worth. Will Toothaker and Clay and myself, we all went out to lunch together at a nice little new restaurant there in town. And that was really nice for lunch in the middle of the class. And let's see. Well, before the class ever started, we all had to go to your place and we hauled hives from your place over to the store.
That was Friday night. Yeah, that was Friday night. We moved bees.
Yeah, and all that. Hey, Matt or Tom. And Ryan wants to know about offsetting supers and who does it and who doesn't. I have done it in the past. Now, one thing about it, I can tell you right now, come the dearth, you best be putting them back together because you're going to get all robbed out. You talk about a robbing.
Yep.
Talk about a robbing scene. Look out.
Yep.
And to be quite honest with you, this is my opinion. I don't think it's really worth it. And I don't really see any advantage to it. You know, I know it means that you have an upper entrance and the bees are going to go in here and deposit the honey. Well, I don't think that's how it really works. I've been told the bees the foragers come in, they puke it out and into somebody else's mouth, and they pass it along and along and along. And every time it goes from one honey gut to the next honey gut to the next honey gut, it mixes enzymes in there, and that's what helps the nectar turn to honey.
Yeah, it refines it.
Well, with the by putting different bees enzymes in or putting more enzymes in. I'm not sure what each bee has anything different.
They're refining it down is what they're doing.
And then Tiny Creek, Andrew, he's in South Carolina. he's going to try it. If it's high humidity and we get a lot of that, not every year, about July or so, it does get hard to get that, if you're testing your honey, to get it dried down to, I like it somewhere around 17%, 17 and a half.
Yep.
I want it below 18.
We used to do it, a version of it before Varroa for honey production.
Hmm.
And
yeah,
we would take 2 brood boxes and split the brood boxes and put queen excluders on them and cover half the brood box that was exposed, and both queens were laying bees, and you could build one heck of a honey tower with it that way.
Now, Brian out there, he says it helps dehydrate the honey better.
Yeah.
So, and all that. Jeremy says, in West Texas, the less rain, the better for me. What's it? Would key quiet beans?
Quiet blooms.
There he is.
There's Mr. Toothacre.
Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, everybody that wants to do the offset thing, I've heard some people, like you say, that they did all that stuff and they didn't find it really made a difference. Maybe it is where you live at, an environment. And if you want to try it, go for it. But the only advice I will say is make sure you shut them boxes up when you get close to a dearth, because you're going to get robbed out.
Yep.
That's the only thing I can say on that.
Yep.
Mesquite blooms. Jeremy, when the mesquite blooms, that's when it's dry out there in Texas. And for y'all folks that don't know, I thought mesquite was tumbleweed, but actually it's not. It's a bush, because he showed me pictures of it. It's kind of like a real big, skinny looking bush.
Yeah.
So, like I say, we had a really good time. Will and Clay and everybody, we went out to dinner or lunch, I mean. And then, let's see, what was it? When did we go to the caverns, Will? Was that Saturday night?
I think that was Saturday night.
Yeah, that was Saturday afternoon. Yeah.
Yep.
After class, me and Will and his girlfriend, we went on up to Demaree Caverns and went mining down in the hole and all that. Took the caverns in.
I'm right around 60 right now. I ended up pulling 5 splits out when I put those queens in the other day. Peabody was asking me.
Oh.
Ryan, yeah. Clay says the supers are empty. Clay, are you getting a lot of rain down there? Is it washing things out? The locust is blooming here. At least I think it is locust. I haven't been over next to the road to really get a good visual. It might be, is it cherry that's got those long, like cigar-shaped blossoms? Is that what that is?
No, that's locust.
Now, usually locust is kind of flowery like grapes.
Yeah, but they have a long seed pod on them.
Yeah, but they're kind of like grapes. And then this is like a real, I've seen some trees that are about that bigger. It's about that big around, and it's kind of tubulature down a little bit. I don't know. But anyway, something's blooming out there. I got, like I say, I got 3 supers on those hives right behind me there. Will came down 2 days ago. and was helped me out a little bit, which was greatly appreciated. My hips appreciated it and all. And
Yeah, I was glad to help.
so we had them ones, those hives right behind me are my best hives. And there's at least 3 full supers on there almost. That third one's just about full. If it ain't raining, I'll be dropping honey supers on them. Yeah, if I could get all locust honey, that's what I would go for.
Yeah.
That's, to me, it's good tasting honey. It's like, as I call it, it's like cotton candy. Hey there, Brad, down at Cajun, down there in Louisiana. But now it has rained for 2 days straight down there.
So the wax dipping tank is cleaned up. It's full of
Cool.
wax. And I think I'm going to start dipping maybe tomorrow.
So you got it hot and it's liquefied and whatever.
Well, I got it cleaned up. There was some burned wax in the bottom of it, so I had to take a wire brush to that and cleaned it up and cleaned it all out real good. And had the burner in it. I put, I don't know, 250 pounds of wax in it, and it was starting to get melted pretty good, and I had to pull a pin on it, because it was getting too late tonight. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to turn it on to, and again, I'm just taking my time playing my way into this a little bit. So I'm going to go down and start it around 6:30, 7 o'clock tomorrow and let it heat till about lunchtime. And then I'm hoping to be able to get at it. I have a big pop-up over top of it, and I have a rack in there where I can put my supers, but I want to start. I have 120 supers put together that I want to dip, that I'm hoping to get dipped this weekend. So.
Yeah, that would be good.
So that'll be my adventure. That's my upcoming looming adventure for the weekend, is to see how this whole dipping thing works.
Cool.
And Tiny Creek Air, he's down in South Carolina. He's got privet blooming. And I don't think I have privet around here at all that I know of.
I don't think we have privet up here.
And poplar, I think the poplar, I seen a tree that was one of the highest trees across the road. From a great distance, I think I see blooms on it. I'm not sure on that. And blackberry, there's not that many blackberry. Everybody ripped out the darn fence rows, so there ain't no blackberries much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Crimson clover, nobody plants that around here much anymore. Mostly for a cover crop, if they do plant it, and most of them don't do that. They usually, I'll say, plant rye or something like that. Keith did 29 supers off of 19 hives. And he's doing quite well down there.
Oh, that sounds good.
Excuse me.
And all that. He's raking it in.
Bill, I'm glad we drew some cells somewhere, because I put 20 in 2 of my different Demaree splits in the top of them, and I didn't get anything. As a matter of fact, it looks like they cleaned the larvae out and polished them all up, and I'm going to just reuse them. But I don't think I had enough population or enough food on top of it yet.
Mm-hmm. Those frames that you, excuse me, those frames that you had,
mm-hmm.
Those bees like those frames.
Well, a couple of them, I don't know if I had 2 of them, but they've been in bees before, which probably don't hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was 2 of them.
The grafting frames?
Yeah.
Of what were they? Were those Man Lake jobs?
No, I think they were just cheapies I got somewhere. The Man Lake ones, I think the Man Lake ones have a thicker bar and they cut them. But these had little little pieces nailed into them that
the little
held
notch.
it up.
Something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd never.
Yeah, they would be really easy to make.
Yeah. But so I'll try again once those colonies get a little bit bigger and start rolling a little bit more. You know, I'm keeping that grafting stuff in the truck with me, and when I'm out there, and if I see something that looks really good, every 7 days I get in that top. So
Yep.
I plan on just hitting it sporadically and seeing, see what happens.
And then Ryan there, he says holly's opening up down there. I don't have that many holly trees. Now the state has planted holly across the road in some of their right of ways for the Save the Bay thing.
Yeah, they plant ornamental holly, right?
I don't know what it is, I guess. I don't know.
I don't think we're going to hit a dearth in May or June, Tiny Creek, but I don't know. This year has been really, really, really funny.
He's down South Carolina, so I don't know.
They may hit it sooner than we. They will hit it sooner than we do. But
now, to be quite honest with you, we need some rain.
Yeah, we do. We need it bad.
We need it bad, but I don't really. It's kind of a double-edged sword. We need the rain for the hay, and I don't really need the rain I need some rain to keep some moisture growing up in these trees.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need a washout. Let's put it to you that way.
Right.
I'm showing up here, rain for the next 7 days. It's supposed to rain Saturday to Saturday here.
Really?
Well, they're showing a percentage of it, a high percentage of it each day. So just in time for the locust to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call that the locust rains. Every year it rains.
I hope it's a light locust rain, not a heavy.
Yeah, see.
Hey, Amber.
10. See, I got a 90% chance of rain tonight. So, and they're calling for showers off and on all weekend up through Tuesday here. So,
are you showing rain, Charlie?
Saturday, 37%, 64% Sunday, 60% Monday, 50% Tuesday, 14% Wednesday.
Oh,
I don't see. I'm looking at the radar right now, and there is like really nothing there. It's raining in Morgantown, West Virginia, and there's raining in Winchester right now, but I don't think it's coming my way. And all.
Yeah, I got a 90% chance tonight, 66% chance tomorrow, 74% chance Sunday, and a 59% chance Monday, and 50% chance on Tuesday. We need it bad.
Yeah.
All right, here tonight, 20%, and then it's 60% every day till Tuesday, and it's 50% on that day, and then after that it's 20 and 30%.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the local forecast.
Yeah.
Kind of like snow. We'll count it when it's on the ground, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, tomorrow it doesn't look. I say wash out. How do you say it, Paul? Hey, Mike. That's like, up here in Baltimore, the zinc instead of the sink.
Yeah, the zinc. What about them dishes in the zinc? It's kind of like Pennsylvania, Will. Ewans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
What is it?
Ewans.
We got all kinds of stuff up here. Yuns.
Yep.
Or like some of the Pennsylvania. How many R's did you get there? Takes you
Then
2
you get a
R's.
little Dutchified.
Takes you 2 R's to get there.
Yep. Gets a little Dutchified. Throw the cow over the fence, some hay, right?
Yep.
Or what's another one up there in Pennsylvania? We say there's tars and tires.
Yep.
Yep.
I forget which one. I don't know. I say tars. And then it's like I was listening to one of these here commentary things, and they were talking about Loretta Lynn. And here you got this, I guarantee you, city person. Hey, Sandy. And it was so crafty how Loretta, put this line in the song where, because we worked hard because we were tired, and after working hard, we're all tired. And it rhymed. And I'm like, that's how you say it around here. We're tired. No, we're not tired. We're tired.
We're tired.
We're tired because we work hard.
Yeah, work hard. I'm tired.
That was no crafty thing. That was just the way everybody spoke it.
Yeah, exactly.
But they didn't know any difference.
Nope.
Did you see Amber's question about checkerboarding or doing something with supers, honey supers?
No, where was it at?
She was saying something about, undrawn comb, and do you stack them all together or do you checkerboard them in a honey super?
Let me see. Let me run it back here. Amber.
It's above Hope's comment. Yeah.
I have some drawn and undrawn frames. Do you suggest checkerboarding drawn and undrawn, drawn and undrawn separate, or a combo up to 2?
It depends on whether it's wax foundation or plastic foundation. 2.
And then she says down here later in relationship, the question was related to supers, not deeps. Okay.
Yeah, it still goes back to, is it wax foundation or plastic?
Plastic.
Yeah, if you got wax and you've got plastic, you can't checkerboard because they'll just draw on the wax, not the plastic.
Yeah, when it comes to she's got plastic, I would, as far as I'm concerned, just put 10 frames in there of this plastic foundation, put it up tight and let them go for it.
Right. If you've got drawn comb, put the drawn comb on the outside and put the undrawn on them in the middle.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because they'll work that middle first.
Yep.
That's the easiest way to do it. Because when you start checkerboarding, they'll pick and choose what they want to draw out and what they don't want to draw out. You put it all in the middle, then they'll work that middle first until they get all that middle drawn out, and then they'll start worrying about the outsides.
Another thing, if I had drawn comb and then I had foundation and drawn comb where you're putting in between, guess what? They take the drawn comb and draw it towards the plastic. They won't they won't draw from the plastic out. So that don't work either.
No, it doesn't.
At least that's my experience of it.
Yeah, I hear the cricket too, Dodd. Somebody's got a house cricket.
That's me. The little peepers are outside clicking away.
Oh, okay.
That might help.
Yeah, that's better.
Cricket's
That's a good microphone. That's a good microphone that's picking it up all the way across the room from outside.
Yeah. Yeah, they're actually frogs in a pond, but I'm rattling chip bags and Got little peepers peeping outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's summertime.
Yeah, that's what Clay says. Friend like frogs.
Yep. They're little frogs out
So, but like I say, a couple of days ago, Will came down and helped me get all my Demaree, up to date as far as getting everything done and putting in a second drone frame and all the hives of all the brood chambers. I put the drone frame one on top of each other, so it kind of keeps them in that one area. I guess it's just as good as any. And then yesterday I got 4 queens. I won't say they questionable. I'll put it to you that way. And they'd been in the cage too long. So actually I took the 4 hives, the ones on the end out there. First one, I found the queen, put the new queen in with the cage. Second one was definitely a queen-less hive and a ton of drones in there. And so I found a queen. The next queen I was looking at each one. The attendants were dying or dead. And I was kind of checking, opening the cages up in their JZBZ cages. So I had one there that just had the queen in there. And I put her, you can put a cage on the hive like that when you're messing with it and just watch and see what the bees do. Are they trying to jack their butts up and try to sting her, or are they trying to feed her and love her? So they looked like to me they were trying to feed her and were interested in her, especially I guess because they're queenless for quite a few days.
Mm-hmm.
So I just actually, because of the situation, I went ahead and direct released her right in.
Yeah.
And she went off down in there, and then I found her. I went back to find her again, and they were licking her clean because she had gotten a little bit sticky, I think.
Yeah.
Wet. And she was trying to find something to eat because she had her head down in the cell trying to find something to eat. And queens will eat themselves or go out and eat honey, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't need to be fed like everybody's. I mean, they do need to be fed, but they can feed themselves. And and then I found another that was queenless. There was queen and some attendants in that cage. I went ahead and put that in that hive. And then one of the hives, it was one of my queens that I overwintered, and she was a great big black beauty and all that, but she only had 2 frames of brood, and maybe about that much of it was fairly solid looking. And I'm like, I should have 4 or 5 frames of brood, corner to corner slab, or at least that's what I expect. So I went ahead and pulled her out and put another queen in that cage or that hive and in a cage.
Yep.
So I got all that. At least I got those. I kept saying those hives out there in the springtime. I thought it was the cold weather. And the first one, I did have a queen in there, but she had a shotgun pattern on she didn't have 5 or 6 frames of brood. She only had 2 or 3 frames of brood. And what she did have was about yay big, and it was shotgun pattern where it was a bunch of holes in it all over the place. I mean, there were certain areas that were solid and other areas just a bunch of holes. And I went ahead and pulled her out. She just wasn't up to my standards anymore.
Yeah.
That's something that we've talked about, and I know Will's talked about it. We've talked about it. And
yeah.
I'm going to continue to work through all mine and make sure they're all new queens, this year.
And you talked about, you think that attendants cause problems. Now when I first started out, there were 2 camps in the bee world. One camp said that they didn't want to introduce a queen with attendants in a new hive. And the other camp was, keep the attendants in there and introduce that queen into a new hive.
Right.
And I don't really know the background story on that about the attendants, what Did it cause fighting or something or what? Do you know anything about it, Bill?
I think that was the intention or the initial thought process, that the attendants in there would cause an issue.
Where they would fight with the other bees?
They would fight with the other bees, and it would just upset the balance in the hive of what little balance there was, and they would ball the queen and kill her.
I'm just a big dummy on all this, but I've got the last round of queens I got didn't have any attendants in them, and they don't last very long when they don't have any attendants. Now I didn't do a couple things right, but I've seen that a couple of times. I don't think they last long without attendants in the cage with them. And the other thing is, I've put everything from a California cage, putting just a drop of water on them, to a little bit of sugar syrup, to even a little bit of honey. And like I say, I'm a big dummy, but the best I've seen is when you just give them a little bit of water, because I think the sugar syrup and I think the honey, I've seen them not last as long, with sugar syrup and honey.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
I
want
know.
to say hi to Chris from Central Ohio.
I know when we bank queens, we can bank queens. We don't like to bank them over 15 days. After 15 days, they start losing their size. They start, and then they have to build back up so they can lay again after the 15th day. But when we ship queens, we put attendants in the shipping box.
Yep.
Along with a syringe of water. And
a sponge.
No, a syringe of water.
Okay.
And a little ball of fondant. The attendants will go and they'll pull water out of that syringe and take it to the queen.
Okay.
How they do that? I mean, there was the guy that Bruce Jennings down there. Whoever shipped him, that was the best looking system I ever seen. It was like a syringe or a tube where it had like it had a sponge at the end of it where it would just keep
soaking the water up out of that.
And the bees could seem to get that. And then the other tube had, like you said, candy in it or fondant.
Yep.
And they had plenty of food
and water
for that. And then you have your battery boxes, which are like your JZBZ. The queens that I got, they came in a shipping box.
Yeah.
With 2 strips, and then they had a sponge and they had some candy or whatever in there.
Yeah.
Or you have it in a battery box.
Right. And even with a battery box, we put a sponge in them.
Yeah.
And a piece of fondant on opposite ends. So that keeps the attendants moving all the time. And they get to eat, they drink, and they also take care of the queens. So Nancy, what kind of problem you having with the queens from those packages?
I don't know. Chris, I think Bruce's queens were from Hawaii. I am not sure on that. Sandy, what do you need? I didn't see a question. It says they're killing them. Nancy says.
Yeah, see, package queens are different than nuke queens. Package queens are not raised with those bees that they're in the package with. If they don't like that queen, or if there is a virgin queen in that got shook into that package, they'll kill them every time. They'll do it every time.
Yeah, it could be I never had that issue with the queens in a package.
Yeah, I see it every now and then, but the people we're getting our packages from, they're pretty thorough about not putting virgins in there or mated queens, letting them get into the package. So.
Somebody just asked about how long the Hive lifter battery charge lasts. I haven't. Mine's still in the case. I didn't put it together yet. But Charlie, can you speak to that?
I haven't charged mine, and I've had it for over a year, from
Okay.
one season to the next.
Okay.
Now, mine does have a, what do you call it, solar panel on there. Now, for me, I'm not out in full sunlight during the day that much. Now, this week I was out in the hives after lunch, let's say 1 o'clock, and I did put the charger thing on there, but I haven't never had to plug it into the wall of the house to charge it up. Now, the thing that and I showed Will this. I raised that set of forks up to a certain height that I know I'm going to grab, the honey supers above the queen excluder. And basically it's in a situation where you come in and you put the arms alongside the upper box, and then paddles fold out. And then you go down to where the paddles flip into the handholds. And of course, you've already broken the seal on the queen excluder. And all I do is, it's a teeter-totter thing. I just push down on the back handles, push down, and it just raises those boxes right up. And if I had the one out there that had four mediums on there, and it's got them bars sticking up, and that's to support those boxes. And
yeah, it's kind of like a leverage thing how you do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a leverage thing how you do it.
Yeah, I do it. I
Like
don't
a lever.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a
Yep.
leverage. It's a lever action like this. Your two main wheels in the front are your pivot point. Now with Joey's, he's got more like a hand truck situation. So when he goes in with that hand truck and puts it up right behind the hives, and the flappers go into the handholds, then he's got to push the button to raise those boxes straight up, and then he's got to pull it and then lean it back and pull it away from it. And mine doesn't work like that. Mine works a little, works differently. Hey, Mike from Easy Ox. I missed a couple questions here.
Yeah, Nancy, I'm going to say, looking through the packages that I put in 10 frame boxes, I'm going to say there's two of them that when I just look down on the top of them, they're the bees are like fidgety, scattery like. Yep. And I'm thinking they probably killed their queen, that there's only one or two of them, but I'll get into that here next week. I think Monday next week is when I hit, 21 couple days, like their first brood cycle will be done. So I haven't expected them to start growing in population until I'm hoping Monday I start to see them ramp up.
Honey be gone. That's for
harvesting.
Harvesting, yeah. I think, isn't that what you sell, Bill?
Yep.
Up on the top shelf there, that's the one I got. Kind of in a clear bottle with brown.
Yeah, clear brownish yellow bottle.
Yeah, that's what I use
on a fume board.
On a fume board, Ryan, and I don't know. It's kind of like you say, it's sort of an almond smell. It's a nice sweet smell. Yeah, it isn't like that. What is it? Other stuff that's butylene.
Honey Bandit.
Honey Bandit, is that the one that's got the?
Oh yeah, that's the most obnoxious smelling stuff I've ever smelled. But the thing, even with Honey Be Gone, once you spray it on that fume board and you put that fume board on there, don't leave it on there for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Amber, good night, Amber, and have a great week in the bee yard and all. Hope everything works out for you. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much. I think you had somebody that didn't do that or didn't understand that. I guess what it was. For me, it's like, yeah, you put it on. I have about 4 or 5 of the fume boards. So when I'm harvesting, I'm leapfrogging. So when I start at hive 1, I put it on, and by the time I get down to hive 4 or 5, it's been a couple minutes. Give it about 3 to 5 minutes, and it should drive the bees right out of there. Now, there might be a few stragglers. That's where your little Milwaukee handheld leaf blower comes in with a battery operated. Works great. Better than a gas job any day of the week.
Yep.
And just blow the bees kind of in front of the hive. They'll find their ways back home. And Russell, I don't know what that.
It's me. I'm typing.
Huh?
I'm typing a quick email.
Gary Gray's bees. Personal one like yours, Charlie. Mine also has a solar charger. Yeah, I haven't never really, like I say, once I lift those arms up on that hive lifter, I don't run them up and down all the time. I kind of get it set, and they're just flashing a little bit of lightning out here, and I just use it as sort of like a counter lever or a teeter totter, and that's it. I love it. I mean, Will was there.
Oh, it works great.
You
And some of that was heavy.
That purple hive over my shoulder there, right there. That sucker had pretty much 3 full supers of honey on there, plus a brood box, which doesn't weigh a whole lot. But you could tell, well, even with that hive lifter, it's like we got some weight here.
Yep, it was grown. But like I say, when you leverage it, the way you leverage it, it's not, it's not hard on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is when I pushed down on it, it was like it just didn't come up. It's like, oh, I got really pushed. I said, am I stuck? No, I'm not stuck. You just got a lot of weight on there.
Yep.
And you got about 100 pounds of honey sitting there on that one box set of supers. And so
I can't believe the nectar you had in a bunch of them hives, Charlie. That was nuts. Just shaking that nectar out of some of them, trying to clean up those frames so that they could. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
So Tuesday, we put on honey supers. Almost all my hives now, I have got 3.
Okay.
So
all my hives, as far as if they're any size, I'll bill about them, they all got honey supers on them. Some of them, the biggest and the baddest, have at least 3, maybe 4 on there by tomorrow. I put my FP on today. What is FP?
Formic Pro.
Oh, Formic Pro today. And I have one hive that is 5 tall, a deep brood, 2 empty mediums, and a deep. And
there's a lot to that question you might want to pull up.
Put on Formic Pro today. I have one hive that is 5 tall, a deep brood, 2 empty mediums, a deep medium with brood.
I put 4 pads on.
4 pads. Woohoo! I bet
that's a lot of Formic Pro.
That's more Formic Pro
and too high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Sandy. I don't know.
That's a lot of Formic Pro. I'd be going back and pulling 2 of them off.
Yeah.
Because that gas that it puts off sinks. That gas is heavier than air. So it's going to go to the bottom boxes.
The thing of it is, Sandy, my question is this. When you say brood, are we talking cap brood, all the boxes up top and down in the bottom? Because, Formic Pro is a under the brood mite kill in my
opinion. Under the cap.
And all that. So, if you have cap brood up at the top, but we had this problem in another chat here a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I get it. To me, I think you overdid it.
Yeah.
I would say pull the ones off the bottom and just keep them off of the top.
Yep. That's what I would
I
be
think
doing.
she is doing it, Nancy. She's Demaree and all that. But anyway,
Or did she do a vertical split
yeah, same thing.
to separate everything?
But we had a guy up in Chester where Nancy and I met at that club, and he had a Demaree, and he had high mite count in a couple of his hives. Yeah, I know the bottom is where the queen is, but
yeah, Sandy, I would still pull those two bottom ones off.
Yep.
And just leave them on top.
And anyway, what we come up with, Sandy, is this. Everything upstairs was cat brood. Yeah, I think is the way he said it was. And he had a high mite load. And what we came up with was, he's got the honey supers on. So Formic, you can do that. So what we told him was put the 2 Demaree pads or Formic pads on the top, so it kills the mites in the brood, cat brood, and let that gas leak on down. He was worried about getting his queen killed. So by the time they got down below, it wouldn't be quite as harsh on the queen. Brian Cooper says the metal queen excluder might get rusty.
True. Because it is an acid.
Yeah, I get that part of it. The 2 empty boxes, is that your honey supers?
I think that's what boxes between the bottom and then a deep medium. So the deep medium is your bottom brood box, right, Sandy?
I don't think that's how she wrote it.
And isn't there a minimum with Formic that you want to have at least like 6 or 8 frames of bees because of the way they fan it around?
Yep.
I'd be concerned about getting that, you know what I mean, all throughout that hive.
Yeah, Nancy, they'll run out the front and beard, but it's not a thoracic treatment. It's a brood. It's more of a brood treatment than it is anything else. Bottom is a deep, the empties, then deep and a medium. So you got 2 medium boxes that are totally empty without any frames. I mean, the way I'm running mine is brood box, queen excluder, honey super, brood box. And of course, mine are all mediums. Yeah, it's a mass. So that's what a Demaree does, a massive amount of bees. That's why you keep. The main thing of it is you keep. All right, so the mediums have frames. Well, you're not supposed to have brood in there anyway, not in your honey supers. More, if you got honey supers that are packed full of bees, they'll make you honey, and you don't have to worry about moving the outside frames in because they will fill it all.
Yeah, they will.
Nancy says, Formic label on screen.
All right, here you go. This is straight from Formic Pro. With a Demaree split, Formic Pro should be placed in the upper brood chamber above the queen excluder rather than directly where the original queen and flying bees are. This placement ensures the treatment effectively targets the nurse bees and the brood in the upper box while minimizing potential stress on the queen and flying bees in the lower box. There's your answer.
Where's that? Is that in that new pamphlet they put out?
No, this I messaged what's his name? Paul from
Paul.
Yeah. And that's the answer I got back.
There you go. Direct from the horse's mouth.
Yep. That's your answer. Did you get that, Sandy?
Yeah, she says thank you.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know somebody in high places.
Well,
Here
being a dealer for them, when you ask a question, they almost have to answer you whenever you ask it.
That's pretty sweet. They answered you that quick. Holy cow.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, he's probably getting ready to go to EAS.
Who is? Where's the EAS? Is this month? It ain't this month, is it? I think so.
Yeah, but he's still got to get stuff ready to go.
Oh,
So, I'm already starting to get stuff ready to go to Nobby, getting it organized.
we're movers and shakers here on Charlie's Chat. Well, that's the thing, everyone. That's why this chat here is, like I say, it's for the intermediate and advanced beekeeper, i.e., and then in the commercial as an advanced slash sideliner and the commercial guy.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the commercial guys that do come in and give us their advice.
Yep.
And all that, and then try to answer, what would you say, questions that are more specific to whatever topic there is, but at a very in-depth, answer.
Yeah. Yep. Whether it be a scientific answer or a layman's answer like you just got. So, it's going to be an in-depth answer, no matter what we have to do.
Well, I think that answer's right from that's not really layman. That's right from the manufacturer, or representative from the manufacturer, and they should know.
Yeah, that's great that you can get that kind of response just like that.
Yep. So the queen excluder we know is going to be rusty, Nancy, because it's an acid gas, or it's an acid in the air in the hive, and it's going to put a little bit of rust on the queen excluder, which is easily removed. So
yeah, I've seen it where it corrodes them a little bit, but a wire brush, and there's usually so much wax and propolis melted and wrapped around that whole thing.
Yeah. And even if you're using oxalic acid, it's an acid vapor. It's going to do the same thing.
But when we're usually doing the OA, we're in the middle of the winter.
We're in the winter. We don't have queen excluders on. You're right. So,
but in my personal opinion, I don't treat while the honey super's on. That's just something that I don't do.
Yeah, Nancy, I have a solar wax melter, and it was just, I don't remember if it was Man Lake or Dayton, but a queen excluder sits right down in that tray, and it just does a wonderful job melting all the burr comb off of it. And I pull it out of there, and I might have to scrape a little propolis off of it, but boy, that cleans up nice in a solar wax melter.
And if it's a hot enough day and the sun's bright enough, you don't even have to scrape propolis off of it.
Yep.
Well, the thing of it is, Nancy's the one that, as far as I'm concerned, that came up with that idea, because she told me that a couple of years ago, and I even credited her on my video where I threw them metal queen excluders in that solar wax melter of mine. And I mean, you better have some leather gloves on because it'll burn you.
It'll get hot. Yeah,
it'll get hot.
That goofy little solar wax melter just works great. I throw stuff in it. I come back and the wax is melted out of it.
You get a good 95-degree day out there with bright sun. That one queen excluder will be totally melted within 3 or 4 hours, and you can put a second one in that afternoon.
Oh yeah.
But Nancy told me that one here a year or more ago, and I did it, and I'll tell you, it saved me so much time. I used to get out there with
you see people torching them and doing all kinds.
Well, I'd have a pro heat gun,
Yeah.
and I'd sit there and just hold it there until finally it would melt, and the propolis, and then I have one of them queen excluder scrapers. You know, it's got the little divots in it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I take a wire brush occasionally. I have a wire brush for like a
How many R's are in that? War.
What kind of brush was it, Charlie? A
It's
war?
War.
Is that WARR or is it WIRR?
I'm pretty sure there's 2 R's in there.
it's a wire brush. And
that's like Clay and I would be. We're going down the holler.
Get one of them.
Charlie was testing us on that. That's all. That's what that was.
Yeah.
Get one of them brushes you use to clean your gas grill. You know, a little teeny one, something small.
What's it made of, Charlie?
Wire.
War.
And it works great. I tell you, it saved me hours of time.
Yeah.
You know, you're at the end of the day and you're tired. Well, you go out there with that thing and you're done with honey supers and you still got good hot heat and sunlight. You just put one in every, at least one a day or maybe sometimes 2 of them in a day. There is an R and a D in water too.
Okay.
It's water.
So I went back out and checked those 2 little nukes.
Yep.
That we put those virgins in.
Yep.
And I went back out today and I had to do a double take on them because I couldn't believe what I saw yesterday. And I'm going to have to put a box on them tomorrow.
Yeah.
That whole box is drawn out and there's eggs in it, period. The 2 outside frames are pollen and honey. Everything else, the 3 in the middle are nothing but eggs. Eggs and larvae.
Well, 5 over 5 grows like crazy. So,
oh my God, these things are growing. So,
and you didn't put anything on them. You didn't put any syrup, thin syrup, or anything on them.
No, I didn't put anything on them. I said, well, they're going to make it. They're going to make it on their own.
Yep.
So
it's like the guy next door to me. He had a swarm, and I'm coming back from Bill's. Here I'm on 695 around. I got a swarm. I'm like, I'm on 695. I shouldn't even be on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, he got it captured. So he called me today and said that he must have put it in 8-frame foundation, and he said they're all drawn. They got that almost all drawn out. And I said, "Yep, that's what happens when a swarm walks in."
Yep. That's exactly what happens because they're ready to draw.
That yard behind me there looks different now. It's not wrapped up and everything, but I had a swarm come into one of my dead outs. I had it all cleaned out and ready to go. And a swarm came into there and I looked down in that thing and it was a 10-frame box. But first night I saw there was a swarm in it. I looked down in there and there was 5-6 frames of freaking bees that looked like I'd put a package in it. You know what I mean?
And those 2 cell builders,
mm-hmm.
Every one of those bees is still in the bottom.
Okay. So
they never left.
Okay. So it's not screwed up queen wise then.
No.
Great.
Now, Will, them bees, they weren't illegals, were they?
What's this?
I said them bees that came in and squatted in your hive, they weren't illegals, were they?
As long as they make honey for me, they can speak whatever language they want, Charlie. If Tom Holman gets down to that point that he's chasing down the bees, that's okay. I'll play ball. Might take them a little while to get that far down.
It might take them a while to get that far.
I'm pretty sure they'd have been York County bees. They were probably out of one of my other hives sitting right there. If I had to take a guess.
They might
Could
have
have been. They like the apiary if they came back to it.
Yep. Well, there was, like I say, I think there's in that yard, I think there's 10 single deeps that have, drawn frames in it, and there's still some honey in it and stuff. I mean, they're just like how when they died out, they've still got all kinds of resources in them. So,
yeah. So I've got a couple of hives over here on the other farm. And we were over there the other day after I took that broken disc over. And
look who the cat dragged in. Hey, Jack.
Oh,
Hey.
Lord.
Hey, Charlie, how you been, man?
Good. I was wondering about. I sent Jack something on Facebook. It's like, where you been at?
Yeah.
Jack,
Yeah,
you're what, commercial pollinating and everything else.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, man. I'm sorry. I don't mean to jump in your conversation, and I've been watching for a little bit. I just finished up dinner, so I don't want to eat in front of everybody. So I was waiting until I was done eating and jump in.
So you were dropping hives in what type of fields up there in New Jersey?
So we just got done doing. So I'm in New Jersey, right? Yeah. So we just got done doing apples. So, and this year was crazy because apples pollination only lasted like 7 days.
wow.
It was insane how fast it went. All of a sudden, they just started, the blossoms just opened and it was on, and then it was over like 7 to 10 days later.
Aren't blueberries huge out in New Jersey too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Big time.
Now,
And this-
you were mentioning something about you're up there at the Pine Barrens, as you call it. Were you up there? Something about you had a bunch of forest fires up there that's close to you?
Yeah. It got really close to it. It didn't get that. I mean, I got within miles of me. I was fine, but there was other guys that I know that they're really, really, really close. But I don't know anybody that suffered any losses. So it was lucky. Yeah, it was a couple kids that had a bonfire out in the woods, and
Yeah. I think that that might have been on the news here in Baltimore. They were interviewing two girls.
Yeah, it was
I
on the
saw
news
that.
tonight down here.
yeah, they thought they put the fire out, and they went home, and it caught I don't know 150,000 acres, or it was huge.
Yeah, it just cleaned everything up. That's all.
That's all it did. Clean the undergrowth up.
It cleared all the debris out.
That's right.
Yeah.
You figure all that burnt ash is nice fertilizer for the trees, and nature at its best.
The forest is going to look really good after this.
That's right.
Yeah,
It will.
something the Forest Service should have been doing all along.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So what are you pollinating nowadays up there?
So we just moved out of the apples now, and the place that I'm at, I got to move the hives far enough away that they reorientate to somewhere else, and then move them back into strawberries. So strawberries are next. So it's apples and then strawberries, and
What are you gonna do? Move those? You don't have them on trailers yet. You still got them on pallets.
I got them on pallets. Yeah. So I'm still a hand operation. I pick them up and put them on my trailer and wheel them away. Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm sure if all you have to do is put Cayman Ken out there to the Ohio company and get 10% discount on that easy loader out there that he got. That's what's it called? Hummerbee, yeah, Hummerbee.
Yeah, you know what, Charlie? I'm looking at the Hive lifter or like one of those Hive lifters, either the
I don't
P1.
know whether my hive lifter would be able to, it's okay for picking up a hive maybe, but I would not. I know that, um, what's his name? James up there in Canada, he had the forks for that thing to pick up a two-way pallet. And he overloaded the darn thing and bent it a little bit.
Really? Because
Yeah.
I've been reaching out to man, I reached out to Joey and asked him because he has one also, and he's got the forks on there. So I'm on the line. I need a pallet lifter.
Well, if you're running two ways, doesn't Man Lake or one of those make one for going into those two ways? It's like a hand truck. But
I think Jack's already got one of them.
That's what I have. I made a homemade one. Yeah,
Yep.
from Bob Binney put a
Yes.
video out. Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and Seth made his own
His own
creation of
version.
that. Yep,
Yep.
yeah, his version, and that's what I made. Yeah, yep. I followed that concept, and it works. It works, except when except in June or at the end of May when you have 3 supers on 2 hives,
Yeah.
side by side.
Like to me, you need to get yourself a mule.
Exactly. Yeah.
A mule.
I don't
is
know. Well, what do you got a skid steer, don't you? I mean, what do you
Yeah,
got?
I got a skid steer. I have some stuff on two-way pallets, and I was going to make one of those hand trucks like what you have. But then I'm starting to put stuff on 4-way pallets now. So I ended up picking up a used skid steer, and
Okay.
that's how I'm handling it now.
So before you had that skid steer, you did it by hand on a hand truck with forks?
I did. I was going to build one, but I never got to that point.
Okay.
So I just kind of left the two ways where they were set up at, and they're still sitting there. They're right behind me. They're everything in that little yard there is on.
I see them. Yes.
Is on two-way pallets, but I kind of decided that if I was going to be moving that much stuff or starting to move stuff around, I needed to be palletized and I needed to have a piece of equipment. And I didn't want those Hummerbees are super cool, but when you say Hummerbee or when you say just like anything else that's related to a bee, it's 3 times more expensive than it ought to be.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, I was finding ragged out Hummerbees for like $20,000,
Wow.
and they're very limited for what you can do with them. I mean, you got forks on them, and you can put a brush hog attachment on the front of them if you do a lot of work to them. I felt that the best thing for me was a tracked skid steer, you know what I mean, that I could use it if I needed to do some digging, or if I have a brush hog on the front of it too, that if I need to clean things up a little bit, in a bee yard or something, then I have forks on it. And I felt that was it was more economical. I'm going to say I got a lot more for my money. So that's kind of the road that I'm going down right now. And I try not to move anything that's not on a pallet. You know what I mean? Everything's on a pallet, either a shipping pallet or a bee pallet.
It does make it easier. I mean, if once you get into that, that operation, it works for me. I don't know about anybody else, but it works for me. But I have to ask the farmer for help. Once the supers get full,
Mm-hmm.
my hand truck, it will break.
Yeah.
It won't lift, the amount of weight.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some shipping pallets. I might build them, but I'm gonna put some pallets together, and I'm gonna put big casters on them, so that I can, stack super side by side tight with a solid bottom on it, and stack them right. Put a lid on it to keep the bees out of them, and then that way I can pick them up and wheel them around the house and come in and set them on a concrete floor where we extract, and then wheel them around, because handling all those medium supers all the time and occasionally a deep. I mean, you said you'll break your machine with it.
So Will, I got a question for you, man. So when you move your bees around, are you just moving them around your yard, or are you moving them miles away, or?
Well, right now I have about 5 yards. I don't have that many bees. I mean, I'm building into it, but I everything right now is within about a 6 mile radius.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is what kind of like a entrance are you using the what is it called, the bee good or something, beehive or something?
All those
It's-
white
Yeah, the white ones, or
the white robber screens. I used them last year, but I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna. I'm using the 3/8 entrances. My pallets have 3/8 inch high entrances. They're blocked maybe a third of the way across the entrance on the pallet. And now I put some. I just introduced a bunch of packages on the pallets, right? And I actually ended up closing that down, so there was only about an inch and a quarter open, on those entrances. And I'm trying to. I ran a whole bunch of those white. Is it the Bee Fit or Bee something?
Be Smart?
Be smart.
Be Smart.
Yep, yeah, Be Smart. Yep, yeah.
But
The problem with those Be Smart robin screens is they start leaking bees.
Yeah, you have to push them down really tight.
Yep, you got to get them really tight, and instead of using the pins that come with them, get some short wood screws and put in them.
Yeah,
That's what I did. I ran wood screws. I got like 3/4 inch wood screws and ran in them. But I'll tell you, after seeing some of the information that I think Randy Oliver put up about how much confusion and drifting that caused, I flipped all my, anything on a bottom board that's out there. I have a bunch of stuff on bottom boards right now too. I flipped them all around to the 3/8 opening. You know what I mean? So there's not that much room, and then I narrow it down from there.
yeah.
And I'm going to try and stay away from using those BeeFit things. And in the past, I had a mix in my little apiaries of big production hives and little splits. And I'm trying this year to just have out in my big yards production colonies, strong colonies, right? And then every time I pull a split or anything I do, I'm trying to be real religious with I have a sizable mating yard set up, and I take, I have virgins that are mating there, and I have those little dial things on those nukes and have them cranked down to like 2B wide.
Yeah.
And any of my other little nukes that I pull down that are splits, I'm trying to keep them all small. Like all my small stuff is there, because that way I don't have a big hive beating on a little hive. So that's kind of using the 3/8 inch, opening, and then being real religious, moving my weak bees away until they grow up. That's kind of what I'm doing.
I did notice. So when I did a major move today, I was out there at sunrise. Actually, before sunrise, I closed everything up.
There's your problem. If you're going to be a commercial beekeeper, you got to do it at night.
Yeah.
They don't close their entrances up. They put it on the trailers. They get a bee net, put the bee net on there, and down the road to go.
Yeah.
Hey, that's why I save all my 1/8 inch metal cloth. You know what I mean? I can fold a little angle iron in it and two staples out of a staple gun, and that entrance is closed up, but it still breathes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how did your move go? Tell us about your move today.
What's that? Sorry.
Tell us about your move today. How many did you move?
I moved 20.
Okay.
So 10 pallets, 20 hives, plus one double deep standalone. And I was out there before the sun came up, and putting those beehive those white.
Well, those
white
water
plastic
screens, those white plastic things are great for that, because all you got to do is cam either entrance shut.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. They're in there perfect. But like Charlie said, if you don't put them down, if you don't push it down when you put that pin in there, there's a little 1/8 inch gap in there.
Yeah.
And as I was going around to my yards, because I have different fields where they're deployed at, I would come back and there's bees flying. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Like, so they're crawling out underneath. And also, I forgot, which is, stupid mistake on my part, is my oxalic acid entrance in the back. You know, where I put the fucking.
They go in and out through that all the time.
They start crawling out the back of the hive through
they
the port.
do that on mine all the time.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch! I forgot to close that entrance up.
Yeah, not to geek out on you, but they make little dowel pins that are perfect for that. Just don't put them in too far.
Yeah, I use golf tees. You know, I mean, like everyone else. You know,
Yep.
but
James Lee said you could use steel wool to close them up, but
Yep.
I always
works good.
I have a roll of 1/8" hardware cloth, and I use to cut things, and I make a V and jam them in there, and it's good enough, you know.
Yep.
yeah,
But back to the lifting situation, like Will's saying about if you're wanting something on the multi-purpose way,
I'm thinking about a B1, electric B1 with big high, you know.
the thing you got to do, Jack, is first thing is you got to have a truck because you're running around in a darn car with a trail.
I got a Honda Pilot. I'm wondering. Yeah.
You know, if you're going to be a farmer, you got to have a truck, a flatbed, or something.
Yeah.
You know, and you need like a 350, 450, or something like that with a flatbed, and then trailer with your tractor on it, I guess. I mean, the one Brad has, to me, it's too small because you can't even lift hardly anything with it. It's more of an overgrown lawnmower.
The big red one that he has.
Yeah, I mean,
orange.
Have you noticed how lifting capabilities is minimal on that? When you got to remember, it's a forklift. It's a front end loader, so the weight is out in front of that tractor.
Yeah.
It's not like a forklift where the forklift is right on top of the wheels and you're going straight up.
Yeah.
And all.
Yeah, well, he's running 2-way pallets though, so
That's not that
probably
much weight.
just barely within what that a decent sized 2-axle landscape trailer. You could probably do a lot.
So Charlie, I got a question about that. What you just said that Brad is running, the front loader like that, right? With a forks maybe. So
Yeah.
you have the B3, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the kind of the same thing? You're way back behind the hive when you lift it, and you're not right there in front.
Well, yeah, he's got a lot of leverage on it. He's 6 feet back on it almost, probably 5-6 feet behind.
What I'm getting at is, Jack,
It works really well.
you're trying to lift up the whole hive with the weight of the pallet, with the weight of the boxes, and
Yes.
the supers all at the same time.
2 hives,
And
right?
you're going to do two hive.
two
How
hives.
much weight is that? 1,000
my God.
pounds?
Yeah.
1,000 pounds at least, half a ton. And the thing of it is like all them tractors and all your tractors out there, when you have a front end loader, it's out here so far, the farther when your load is closest to your frame,
Easier it is.
the easier it is. But when it's hanging out on the front of them forks out there, it's just like a crane. You got the boom sticking on an angle of 45, or is it up about 80-degree angle? It can lift at 80. It can lift more at 80-degree, but it's closer to the unit. So,
Yeah.
you have to kind of judge all that kind of stuff.
So that's why I'm weighing my options out between the Beehive Lifter one and Boris one.
The Beehive Lifter. I mean, what's
Yeah,
that?
the Beehive Lifters. What is it? Beehive Lifters, or the one from Canada, which is Boris.
Oh, is the Beehive Lifter from the United States?
Yeah, it's a United States one versus a Canadian one. Yeah,
I'd buy the one from Boris.
yeah. There's a difference.
Yeah, but doing what you're doing, dude, I'd be a little scared. Charlie, hanging 2 beehives off the end of that thing?
No.
I don't
No.
think
Really, I'm not lifting it up high. I just need to get it off the ground.
Yeah, no, I know, but
Get it off the ground to do what?
To get it on my trailer.
get it on a trailer.
No.
Are you putting one on at a time?
No, he's not.
Well, one pallet at a time.
Yeah, but
You need a small. Since you're pulling it with a Honda Pilot.
Yeah.
Okay. you can go out here and get a small, a mid-size Kubota tractor or a mid-size Ford, John Deere, Massey Ferguson tractor. Put some weight on the back of it, get weight in the tires, and you can move a two-way pallet easily with it.
Yeah, but Bill, I'm not looking to go
Hey, Jack.
that deep. Like,
Jack, I'll tell
I
you
don't
what.
want-
Either go all the way, Jack, or don't get out.
I don't want-
Yeah,
there's no in
that
between.
tractor
Serious-
tractor should serve you until you get ready to retire from beekeeping.
Yeah, but I have a full-time job. I do beekeeping on the side.
Jack, one
Yeah, I
thing
get that.
you might consider is they have those small tracked skid steers that you stand on the back of. You don't actually get in it.
Yeah.
That
And you
too.
could get a set of forks on that, and you might be able to even buy a Chinese version of them for $5,000-6,000. You could probably pull that on a landscape type trailer behind your Honda. You could rent one of them things, like a lot of Home Depots and stuff. You can rent one of them things, rent it for a weekend with the right, I don't know if your trailer's big enough to carry
I
it.
think that's if you're looking for not spending a lot of money and you only got to move these things ever so often.
Yep.
And you need to get yourself a trailer heavy enough to hold the weight of the bee.
Well, those
hive.
track skids, those little ride on behind track skid steers are not terrible heavy. I know they would pick up what you want to do. And
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is this. I deal with these jokers coming in here getting lumber all the time. And they got a grasshopper, a grass trailer. They got extruded wire tailgate, which lays down.
Yep.
You put a forklift on that thing, you're gonna bend the snot out of it.
Yep. It's not going to be worth
You
keeping.
better, number one, you better have a flatbed trailer.
Yep.
And most likely you can't have a deck over at that size,
Yeah.
meaning that you got wheel wells to deal with.
Yep.
And you better have no sides unless it's removable bar sides,
Yep.
and no tailgate. And the only thing you really need, you need it like a set of like deck over that's got the slide out crawler where you can pull those ladders out, you lay them down, the ramps down, and then you
Yep.
can walk that thing up, and
Oh,
you better
that's-
be able to slide that ramp in and out. And the ramps better be rated enough for the weight of that machine, and especially if you're going to, it depends on whether you're going to load from the side.
It's
Then you got your wheel wells you got to deal with. You can't load from the side. So you might get 2 pallets in the front of the wheel wells. Then you're going to have to get a pallet in between the wheel wells. And you got to load that from the rear end.
what's funny, Charlie? You know what? Exactly what you're talking about. Everything. You look at these videos of these Russian guys, right? Who've been doing this for centuries. Well, not centuries, but like 20, 30 years. They have this all dialed in. And they're like,
I've watched them over
picking
there
up-
and Czechoslovakia and all that. They got that machine that goes in. They got it. They put them in the side of the trucks and
yeah.
everything else.
I'm like, wow. And they
You know what you really need is get yourself a truck with a Tommy gate on the end of it,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
there you are.
Yeah.
Hey,
I like an easy lifter would be great. But
Well, I'll tell you what you do. Why don't you take and look at what's his name up in New Hampshire? I had him on my show last year. Troy Hall. Troy Hall's got a flatbed truck with a toy hauler. He also has a lifter like mine. And when he's pulling honey, he's kind of got the same idea as what Will's got. When he gets back to the honey house, I'm not sure how he does it, but he puts it on a dolly wheels, like the dolly wheels you can get at Harbor Freight and
Yeah.
roll around.
yeah, the furniture mover kind of
Yeah,
dolly.
that's it. Let me look and see.
But yeah, like I'm just gonna build skids for it. But DC's Bees is onto something here too. They talk about why couldn't you have a cart with wheels on it that you put your two-way pallet on, and then pull that up onto your trailer, maybe even with an electric winch or something like that. Might be something.
Yeah, I'm pretty much doing it like Seth and Bob Binney did. You know, I'm just.
Well, if that works.
It's fine for me. It works until it gets too heavy, and then the farmer helps him, and he brings up his giant, forklift and loads me up, and so I don't have any problems right now.
I take advantage of that all you can.
I'm not looking for like, oh my God, I'm stuck and I need a solution. I'm just talking.
Well, yeah, but we all get excited when we start talking equipment and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, exactly. I can't afford this stuff, man.
Sure you can. How much honey you make?
Yeah.
How much money you make on pollination services?
Oh,
you ain't doing it for free.
Not enough. It's
you gotta take your money, save it, and pour it back into your business.
It's never enough.
I don't know.
Hopefully this rain doesn't wash away the locust bloom.
Will, where are you at?
Pennsylvania. I'm between Harrisburg and York along the Susquehanna River.
Okay.
All right. If you go to Troy Hall, or go to Hall's apiaries, he's got a thing. He's harvesting honey. He's taking the same lifter I got. He just brought up 4 honey supers, medium.
I'm going to write this down.
And he puts it on a miniature pallet and he's got a Tommy gate on the back of his flatbed pickup truck or truck.
What's the name of it, Charlie?
It's Hall Apiaries, Plainfield, New York, I think it is.
Hall like U-Haul, H-A-U-L?
H-A-L-L. Apiaries, Plainfield, New Hampshire.
All right, cool. Thank you.
And he's got videos here to show him him harvesting honey using his like you say, heft and all that stuff is just too much. Save your back. He got a Tommy lift tailgate. And then he's got, you can put one of them on a pickup truck too. And then on that Tommy lift, he puts down a little, it's like kind of like a telly cover that's just got rails on, but it's like a little pallet with rails on both sides. And that way he can go back to the honey house and use his, a regular pallet, or not a pallet jack, but a hand truck to lift them supers up and roll them around and everything. But check his videos out. He does palletize everything.
Yeah, I just clicked real quick. I'm gonna look at it later, but I see what you're talking about. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, get some ideas. I mean, he's got a lifter like mine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying, it's just like I was telling, like tonight, he got that hive, right? The one that's got the double purple on the bottom and a white box, 2 yellows and a purple. I lifted the white, 2 yellows and a purple up at one time with that lifter. And it had about 100 pounds or more.
That's the B3?
Huh?
The
That's
B3?
the B3.
Yeah.
Now, that thing was heavy enough that I had to raise the B3 up a little bit more to throw the weight back to them back wheels because it was trying to tip over.
Yeah.
It was heavier than the rest of them out there. And, I mean, you can pick up that unit as a unit. That's the thing about it. That's what you can pick. All that boxes are full of bees, and they won't come out of the bottom. They'll stay up in there.
Yeah.
And they're a unit, and they don't get out up into the air. And then you go, for me, I'm doing the rolling Demaree. So then I go down in there and I pick out my brood frames out of that top mediums. And then I have my little aluminum, what do you call it? Bench. and I have an upside down lid on that bench. I take that medium off of there, put it over here off to the side, go through the bottom box, pull out my frames, put my empties back in, put that medium off back on that medium brood back on top, queen excluder, and Will seen it. I can drive it. I can wheel that thing up there, and you take that box and you put it right along the edge of that queen excluder, and you can start to tip it over by lifting the handles up, and you can kind of move it like this a little bit to square it up. Very little, had some of them, a lot of, you have to square it up just a hair. Usually I take my hive tool and put it up there as a part and then pull it. And then it'll make all them sides even.
So being, with the B3, right, you're pretty far back, right, from the hive. Do you ever have a hard time lining up the boxes because you're like 3 feet back?
No, he can almost micro adjust to that. I was pretty impressed standing there watching him do that. He can actually lay the back edge of that box like perfect. You know what I mean? Right on the back corner of the.
Okay, I was just wondering, like
the main thing with that lifter is have it. You're in New Jersey. I know you got flat ground up there.
We have a lot of sand.
Anyway, you still have flat ground now.
Yep. Oh yeah, there's no mountains.
There's one of these highs where the ground went like that, and then it dipped down a little bit. And the end of that box that lifter is a little bit cockeyed, slightly.
Okay.
You have to kind of, when I'm putting those paddles in, I got to look to both sides, make sure both paddles are flopped in into those holes.
Yep.
And then I push down on it, and it stays. It didn't flop over. The other problem I had is one arm. You got a thumb screw, and there's a hole there. And I'm going to get my drill out through that square tubing, and I'm going to get myself a clevis pin and put in there. So those bars, because I had one here this week. Will wasn't there. I was pulling it off, and that honey super dropped out of there.
Ooh,
there's bees all over the damn ground.
That's what I was. I was just going to ask that question. Yeah,
talk about a mess.
So if you lift up one side, you're going to crack it, and all those bees are going to come flying out, right? If it's not on level ground.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is engaging the paddles into the handles.
Okay.
And then when you push down on it, it might a little
you're
bit.
Gonna crack
the bees don't. That's just it. The bees don't fly out.
Yeah, they don't go crazy.
They don't go crazy. The bees are still in their house. They feel so.
They're almost coming up.
So what happened that you just said before that the bees went crazy? I'm sorry.
No, they don't go crazy.
He almost dropped the box out of it.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, because my lifter, one of the arms slid over, and I didn't notice it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and they've got thumb screws. It's a poor design. I mean, some of the things that Boris did is kind of poor. It's being able to adjust it and all that. Well, one side will split. One side slips away. It's too wide. So there's a hole we put there, and I need to get my drill out and drill a hole in there and put a pin in there so those arms don't spread.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
When you go with those arms and paddles, back here in the back is a wedge piece of metal. It's like guides. It guides along the edge of the box.
Yep.
And then the other parts are the flappers, just like yams and all that. You just got to look on both sides and make sure you're in the right hole. And both of them have flopped over.
Yeah, they make it adjustable so you can either get them from the back or get them from the side.
Yeah.
If you got 2A pallets and you're coming from the end like Brad does, you ever notice that? He works everything from the side of the box.
Yeah.
Like a filing cabinet where the frames are this way. He's working through it this way. He's not lifting the frames out this way.
Yeah. Yep.
And you got to remember something. Brad's got 4-way pallets. You can't go in behind because the darn boxes are tight.
On 4-way pallets, you have to go in from the side. Yes.
Yeah, because you got the brackets in the bottom.
Yes. Yep.
So if you got 2-way pallets with brackets, your boxes are tight.
Yeah, there's like a 1/4 inch gap in between.
You ain't
the
getting
box.
no arm in there. to
No,
lift
no,
the
you
box.
can't. No, you
So you
can't.
got
So
to come from the end. So now you're going to be lifting on the 19th and 7/8 wide
Oh,
part of the box.
there's no way you can do that. You need to have the fork attachment for that. I don't think there's any way that's possible that you can lift with those.
You're not following what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about lifting supers off of those boxes.
Oh, supers. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're coming in from the opposite direction. You're coming from the 19 and 7/8 width of the box to grab the handles front and back to lift those supers up. I'm into, here comes James.
You can't come in from the side. Yeah, right. You'd have to come in from the front.
You're still not understanding what I'm talking about. My hive's right there. I'm coming in from the back end, which is, what is it, Bill? 16 inches wide?
16 something inches wide. But if what Charlie's talking about, Jack, is this other guy's coming in from the side of the hive and picking it up. It's wider that way.
That's what you'd have to do with your 2-ways.
Yeah,
Like my
that's
2-way
what you'd have to do with a 2-way or a 4-way pallet. Is come from the side.
If you're going to use a W clip,
Yeah.
where your pallet is your bottom board, then your boxes are tight. So you got to come from the end of the two different pallets.
Correct. Yeah. From the outside, from the
Now,
end.
if you're lifting the pallet, you're going to come from the back of the pallet and
Yes.
lift straight up.
Yes. I got you. Yep.
What I'm getting at is I don't think my hive lifter will lift a pallet of 2 hives with honey on it.
I don't think it will either.
It
No.
won't. It's designed to lift
50.
250 pounds, is it? Something like that.
Yeah, it's
I
not-
understand what you're talking about now. Yeah, you come in from the side and you grab the handles from the front and the back.
So what kind of hive are you running on that 2-way pallet? A double deep, or what are you running?
Well, it depends on what time of year it is. Because in the springtime, I'm running a double deep to build them up for the apple pollination. And as soon as the apples are over, I'm going to split them. And those are going to be my splits. And I'm going to go down to a single brood box.
Okay, but you're still just running a double deep, right?
And yeah. So a double
After
deep.
you split, you're still just running a double deep.
Yes.
Okay.
If they were just brood boxes, I think you might have a chance. But if you've got honey supers that are full, I think you're going to break that machine.
I do too.
Yeah.
My main thing with the my hive lifter is I'm doing the Demaree. Everybody says, well, you got to tear that hive down. And yes, you do. But if you have a hive lifter like mine, I don't tear the hive down. I break it apart.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I take the boxes off the top of that that queen excluder,
Yeah.
back it up, get into my bottom box, do my manipulation, put my empties in, take my full cap brood out, put it over here off to the right in a separate medium box on my rack on the hive stand.
Yeah.
Put my queen excluder back on, bring that darn thing up, put it back on top, and then I take the lid off the top, put my brood in up at top. If it's like Will was there, I had taken the empty out because I wasn't able to get into the bottom. So I'm not they will put honey in that brood chamber up top if it's open with no brood in it. And I don't want that. So I pull that out and I put it off to the side. Let the bees lick it clean if it's got any nectar in it. And I put in foundation. Let them draw some wax for me. Or I'll pull those if it comes to the time like we did this week. I pulled it. I had one hive. I had 5 frames of brood at one time.
Yeah.
And I pulled those empty. Some of the frames were drawing wax on some of the foundation. I left them in there to keep drawing. The ones that were mostly empty, I pulled them out, put that brood in, and closed the hive up. and all that. I picked up a beautiful frame of pollen on both sides, corner to corner, fresh.
Nice.
I marked that on top of the hive. So I'm going to try this here. I'm going to make my Demaree become my cell builder.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to try it. I'm going to see whether it works or not. And I got a nice pollen frame right there.
Yeah.
I got to look for a few more.
Let me know how it works out for you,
I'm
Charlie.
gonna
Yeah,
see
what-
how it works. I'm gonna
You know,
see
it's
how-
funny, Charlie. We were talking about that. Me and a buddy of mine, exactly what you just said, making a Demaree a cell builder up top, because I just did a Demaree on a couple of my hives also, and they did it. They drew out one of my supers had like 15 queen cells in it.
Yep. If they'll do it then, and if you give them a grafting frame,
If a grafting frame, yeah, boom.
and then I would say this: go up there with the grafting frame, put 2 frames of pollen in there, and you'll have nectar up there too.
Yeah,
And I would think if, like right now, I put those frames of brood up there. All right. Well, the bees are not up there yet. I would come back the next day. And then all your nurse bees will be up there, just choking them frames up, covering them up. Then put your grafting frame in there, and I think you'll have a better success rate.
Yeah, I think so too.
James, what's happening?
I'd like to see some results from that experiment, because
I will be filming it.
We'll all
You're
be.
gonna- you're gonna do it.
I tried it already, and I don't think I had a big enough population.
I don't think so either. That's what I thought, Will.
I got to keep building because I put 20 cells in each one, and they tore them down. There wasn't larvae in them, but the cups were all polished out and looked. I mean, they looked better than brand new. But
I mean, you gotta when you start grafting, you gotta make sure you got population. You want those strong hives like Charlie and I have.
yep, I need a couple weeks yet to get them built up.
Yep.
Yeah. And I did the Demaree also, and all the brood went up to 2 stories, so 2 supers in between, and they did draw out queen cells, but I don't think it was nowhere near what they needed to draw if you put a
Cell builder.
cell builder in frame in there. Yeah. Yep.
Well, did you put up just cat brood, or did you put the whole brood box up there?
No, I
There's
split the
2
brood
different
nest.
ways of doing it. You got the original way of doing it, and you got the rolling Demaree.
I split the brood nest in half. So I run 1.5, right? Usually, like a deep and a medium. I call it a 1.5. So you break that apart and jam 2 empty supers in between,
Yeah.
and then bring the brood up top, and that's
Are you
it.
going to put a deep up top and a deep and a medium up top, or are you going to put just a medium up top?
No, a medium up top. So it's
So you're only going to bring up the cap if you're doing a rolling Demaree. The way I do it, 95% cap frames. That's the only thing that goes upstairs. The original Demaree was to take everything upstairs except for the queen and let's say about 3 frames of brood and larvae and food and everything, and that's it. And then she will lay it in it and put in draw and comb, not foundation, because I got the article right here and you can pick it up off the internet from 1892 where George wrote it out at ABJ, and he says draw and comb, but if you don't have that, you can put foundation in. But you must remember, it's 1892.
Yes.
There's a huge difference. We had forage back then and tons of nectar coming in if you're in the right area of the country.
Yeah.
So they could draw that wax out. And then guess what? They weren't using plastic frames back then either. They were using real wax wired.
They didn't exist.
Wired wax back in the day. So you have to take all those things in consideration And then you also George, he was not going for running honey. He was going for combed honey because that's how honey was sold back then.
Yeah,
And
so I guess I'm just doing like a raw and dirty Demaree, and just so I'm running a 1.5, and I'll break that top medium, and just jam 2 supers in between there, and that's my Demaree.
Yeah, but see, you're doing an original Demaree because if you do a rolling Demaree with a deep medium, you can't do it.
Okay.
You have to have 2 deeps or 2 mediums because the rolling Demaree, like Charlie does, is he goes in that bottom box once a week, brings all that capped brood up to the top, and
Rolling.
puts drawn comb in the bottom.
That's why it's called a rolling.
That's why it's called a rolling Demaree. I do the original Demaree, which is you put the queen in the bottom, 2 frames of brood, and a frame of honey, and the rest of it's drawn comb. She lays that box up. Okay. All your brood from the original brood box goes at the top. Come back in 7 days, kill all the queen cells or move them out.
Yes.
And then they fill from top to bottom with honey. And you never have to touch it until you go to harvest.
Yeah, and I mean, so and that's just swarm control, right?
Yeah, it's a vertical split is what it is.
Yes. Yep. Okay. This is my first year trying that, and
there's a couple of different ways, and people get very confused on how to do it. I'm not saying that I'm the.
Hey James, are you trying to talk?
I'm saying he said people get confused. It sounds like too much work to me.
Yeah,
that's a lot of work.
Charlie's rolling Demaree, it's a lot of work to it.
Yeah.
But the way I do it is the original way it was meant to be done. And Charlie can tell you from the article, that's the way I do it. And except I don't use wax, I use plastic. And I'm going for the honey production, but it's also a swarm control split because it's vertical.
Yeah, I mean it's completely logical, and all the presentations and the people that I've heard talk about it, it makes complete and total sense because you're gonna get way more honey out of the scenario. And maybe what I do is too much work for other people. But once you get locked into a habit on a system,
yep.
Yeah.
What do you do, Jane?
What do you do?
Well,
I'll be right back. I'll be back, guys. Sorry.
Are you going to shut the cupboard?
I'm going to water my tomatoes.
Oh, okay. Get the cupboard behind you too.
High acid content might take and kill them tomatoes.
It might.
So I just spent the last couple of days trying to. I had one actually today. First swarm I encountered. I already lost one, but I just pull the queen out and put her in a nuke and let them get the swarminess out of their system. And then if I want to run that for honey or let them, I got 2 options. I can come back to that colony and take those swarm cells and make a couple more splits and have some nukes that are going to have queens off of that stock. Or I come back and I knock down all those cells and then I just reintroduce the nuke back to the colony and give them stuff to run with. And so I've given myself an option. I'm not only I can actually still pull some of those capped cells out of those colonies and make a couple of nukes, remarry that queen back to the colony again, and still run for 2-3 boxes of honey because our flow in May and June is just unreal.
Oh yeah.
So
and what you're doing makes sense. Okay.
Right.
Because that's another way of doing a Demaree is you do the Demaree and then you take the queen and put her in another box and use it as a support hive. And
Right.
once you get capped brood in the support hive, you put all the capped brood in the Demaree.
Right.
And then when you harvest the Demaree, now you got all these bees.
That forage, you still have all the forage force is still in that colony while that queen is pupating. they're still foraging, and they actually, in a lot of instances, if I don't give them space, they're backfilling. But I tend to want to wait till they cap the cells because I want them condensed and making great cells before I come back and space them out.
Yeah.
So,
But see,
then
once
you got
you go to
back
harvest
to more
your,
frames
once you,
to find the virgin.
once you harvest your honey, now you got all this bee workforce and you got all these bees in this hive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you can do you can do splits and introduce
Yep.
queens to them. And there's your spring nukes, your overwinter nukes for sale next spring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you said, James, you said, and this is something that I won't say a pet peeve, but is they'll say you got to give them space. My question is, what kind of space? Because I feel there's two types of space in beehives. So you tell me what your definition of giving space means.
After I pull the queen and I leave the forage force behind, all those bees have nothing to do but backfill the brood nest.
Yep.
Right.
Honey.
And so, right. And so they'll leave some space while they're making a queen. But if there's so many bees, what's that?
James, where are you at? I'm sorry.
Southeast Michigan, near Detroit.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if they start backfilling the brood nest, I'm basically screwing the new queen. So I will give them another super or two of drawn comb for them to fill. Right. But if I don't have drawn comb, I give them what I have, and I may even checkerboard foundation because they'll draw it out even while they're queenless and waiting for that virgin to come back.
Yeah, they will.
No, they won't do that. They won't do that mid to late summer or fall. But right now, with the flow coming on, they will draw that. They'll fill it. I could literally not use honey supers and come in with just foundation, and I could still harvest 70 pounds to 100 pounds per colony. Easy. With them drawing frames. So, and I'm not trying to have more honey than I'm getting. I really don't want to have excess. I like selling it. I like the income, but I don't like having to deal with it.
That's all of us.
So,
well, everybody says back in the swarm, what makes a hive swarm? What's the number one reason why does she make the decision? No, I think it's, what is it?
Population.
It's a group decision.
Right.
Population.
Nope. That's what everybody believes.
That's what everybody's taught in beginner classes, but it's not population.
So if you say that, Jack, I'll put it to you this way. And I ain't figured it out yet when it comes to commercial guys. They'll say single brood chamber management.
Yep.
Queen excluder, just keep adding supers. And the bees will have all this space to go up in there to put honey away. And she won't
to a certain
swarm.
extent.
She won't swarm. But you know what? I experimented with that a couple years ago. Or
they will swarm.
They will swarm, and they will make queen cells.
They will absolutely.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Then I found out after doing the rolling Demaree, what really triggers swarming in every hive.
There's no more room for the queen lay. There's no more cells left.
That's it.
No room to lay.
When the queen cannot find a place to lay more eggs, that's when the colony decides, hey, we've run out of room. Let's go to a new home, something bigger and better.
Well, that's not always true. That's not always true because
I think it's always true.
No, I've got charged cells in several colonies right now with complete empty brood nests. Like they have a whole box. Now,
James, I will agree with you to a point.
They're charging cells, but genetically, those colonies are trying to swarm way before the rest of the row.
How old are those queens?
I'd say the average age of my queens, this is their second season. So a lot of them are last year's queens.
Okay.
But some of them genetically just ridiculous, like swarminess. Like the one that I just checked that I lost, I'd say she was maybe a week ahead of the rest of the colonies in the yard. And the rest of them are just now charging cells at the same amount of space. They had a lot of bees.
Okay. So wouldn't you want to get rid of that strain of genetics?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'm not prejudiced against swarminess, but I am prejudiced against swarming way too soon.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't want those genetics.
Yeah, well,
but
she
was mite resistant.
What I found is that when I do the rolling Demaree, where I pull out the 95% cat brood framers and I replace them with open comb for her to lay. Now, when I'm pulling them out, and maybe there's like 5 or 6, like it was this week. Yeah, I found some cups. They weren't charged yet, but they were getting close to thinking about it. But as long as I keep giving her a place to lay eggs, I don't have any. They get bigger. The population gets bigger. Like, more honey's coming in.
Yep.
But I don't get any swarming.
You know what's funny, Charlie? I do the same thing, and I was just writing notes down, right? So, I didn't know it was a rolling Demaree, right? But so I started out in the spring with a double deep, and I let her lay up everything, and she usually goes to the second box because the queen likes to climb up top. So she goes up top, she lays the second box up, and I go in there and I exchange the frames. Exactly like what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Give the empty frames, to the, pull the laid up frames and put empty frames in the spot. Throw her downstairs, and I guess it's like a rolling Demaree like that too. And then, so right now after the apples, and I'm done right now, they're pretty much a big giant full population. That's what I'm going to pull my splits with. But there's so much work done to this time with manipulation between 2 deep boxes, moving full laid up frames to empty frames. And it is exactly what you were just talking about, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And you call it a rolling Demaree. Yeah.
What is you're taking the empties that hatch out at the top, you put them down in the bottom and take the fulls out of the bottom, put them back up to the top.
I put the empties downstairs and bring the full ones upstairs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I just want to say Rick Sutton just came on, commercial beekeeper. He said that Don the Fat Bee Man is not doing too well. They need anybody prayers.
Oh no. He's a pioneer.
He's a pioneer. Yeah. I have to say, I've watched him years and years ago, 10, 15 years ago when he first started.
Yeah.
But that's what I do. That's why, and I'll have to say, I've done this without the hive lifter, and I got my hive lifter. That was one of the major reasons I bought it. And I'll have to say, what a backsaver.
Oh, yeah.
But, and all that.
There's another reason I put those rows in my apiary 10 feet apart as well, so I can get the tractor in there.
Yes.
Who's got the radio on? Is that you, Jack, or what?
What's that?
You got a radio on?
Oh, yeah. You want me to turn it off?
Yeah, it's coming through.
Turn off the radio and shut the cupboard. Yes. Thank you.
Is that it? I know there's a light.
Yeah.
All right. How about right there? Like, is that better?
That's good.
I was only kidding about the cupboard because it was driving me bonkers. Because I go through the house after all the kids and the wife, and shut the cupboard, shut the cupboard. That's funny.
And at least I didn't do the Phil Collins, you know, in the air tonight. Dun 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 boom boom.
Oh, that would be great. I'm all about it.
So, James, what are you doing in your hives these days? Is it getting warmer up there to do things? And
Oh yeah, I thought I had another week. I was telling customers May 15th for potentially for picking up their nukes, and I I'm glad that I succumbed to pressure and peer pressure from one of my friends, and they said you better go check, and I did. And almost I'd say about 80% of the colonies I've been through had charged cells or are laying eggs in the cups now. So I was like, well, I'm not even going to sit around and try to figure it out. I'm just pulling all the queens because I got overwinter nukes that I got to go out the door anyway. And I got breeders that I need to get set up in a different yard. So I'm just pulling everybody. Just everybody's leaving. So I've been catching a couple of them. I did have a breeder queen that had capped cells in it, but she was still there because we had rain on the horizon. So I think they were just kind of hanging back. But and I got through the rest of that airport yard. I did the thermals on. I've got maybe 10 more to go in that yard, and I've been through most of the colonies.
Mm-hmm. Good night, Tom.
Night, Tom.
I noticed you got the queen, that Northern Queen Initiative. Is that some of your breeder queen type stuff that you are working on, or is that you doing that, or one of the other guys?
Yeah, there's 4 of them. Well, there's 4. So the way the Northern Queen Initiative works is there's 5 beekeepers that are raising queens and selecting for mite resistance, or raising queens off of breeders that we bring in or have tested or were tested for mite resistance.
Is that the Penn State thing?
No, Penn State's got a program called EPIC where they were training people to do II or instrumental insemination. Yeah. I don't know if they got a breeding program. They got a class for a breeding program, but I don't know what Penn State's doing as far as like an actual breeding network.
So James, you're part of a program to try to bring Northern Queens to us.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. So
James and them started the program, Jack. I think that's kind of the way you would say it.
Right.
You kind of
okay.
You've been
all right. Cool.
Together. It's kind of a local thing.
And we shipped the queens out. I mean, 80% of our queens were shipped out to Michiganders last year, but the other 20% went across the nation. So.
So what percentage are they VHS?
Well, we only raise queens off of stock that's 100% according to the Harbaugh scale. So they have to test. They have to test under a specific criteria. They have to be able to survive the winter, and they have to have had an assay on them in the fall. They also have to show that they have what's called a Harbaugh 4, and if it's a 4 on the scale, that essentially amounts to 100% VSH, and the queen daughters will obviously have a reduced level of that. So that's why we want our queens to be the highest, so that the daughters are going to have a high amount to convey to the drones in your breeding area. And so, it's the same idea that Corey Stevens is doing. We take a lot of cues from what he's done successfully, and he's been a big part of the formulation of our efforts, and consulting with him has helped us out a lot. So but I'm seeing queens. I've been seeing queens survive winter treatment free. And for us, it's about validating that. Because you can buy a queen and somebody say, "Yeah, this is treatment free," and my thing is like, I just want to know, how do you know that queen can survive survive the mite infestation, and what mechanisms? Like, I can trust you, and maybe you're right, and maybe she does, but I would rather be able to know And then that way I can have predictable outcomes. Because if your queens, if your colonies are paying rent, or you need some predictable outcomes, we're never going to be able to bridge the gap between the, quote unquote, treatment free, treatment divide. Like, we're never going to be able to work together if we can't communicate about those nuances. So you got to pay rent, so you have to treat your bees. I get that. I'm cool with that. That's fine. But if I sell you a treatment free bee and I say you can run that treatment free, I want you to believe me, but also want you to have that colony survive, so I'm not just selling you snake oil.
And propagate that hive too.
Yeah, right. Because the data says, and it's rough data, it's not empirical, that about 30% of the commercial population contains genetics that are mite resistant. And that's just general commercial stock. You can find the proverbial diamond in the rough if you just look at your apiary. You don't even have to order in my stock or anybody else's. You can do these tests on your own bees. So it's not about money. It's just, somebody was teasing me or commenting the other day, VSH is just a way for you to sell queens, make your queens look better than other people's queens. Don't buy my queens. I don't care. It's a headache. I don't like producing them. I
don't care.
Do whatever you. Right. I don't care. What I do care about is, like, go test your own stock and raise your own bees. If you want to jumpstart your operation, then you take some of these or buy some from another person who's doing it. Like, that's the whole point here, is that at the end of the day, the goal, the end game is that we don't have to treat. And people always say, well, we're going to get there slowly. You're right, but it's going to be slower if no one's doing it.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Wow, man, that's great.
So, and some of my population, I'd say on average, about 30% of my bees need to be treated at the end of the year. And that's only because they hit my threshold where I feel like they should be treated, because the risk is just too high at that point. But, we've done some preliminary research, and we found that VSH colonies that score very high have a tendency to keep their mite loads at a 2%, 3% wash threshold. So even if you're not doing this assay test where you're looking at the brood, you can test your colonies, and if they're maintaining 3%, there's a significant correlation between mite-resistant stock and that 3%, 2% wash threshold. And we tend to tell people to treat their colonies at 3% and 2%. Now, across the board, if I ordered bees from, let's say, a Georgia package or out of California, and they're only washing 3%, is it going to be a mite-resistant colony? Maybe not, but there's a 30% chance that it is. But the idea is that you're at least looking and monitoring. But in fall, if you got a 2% or 3% mite threshold, that's pretty low for the fall. So
it is.
I set the bar at
3% in fall. Yeah, that's pretty low.
Right. But the correlation, the two data points tend to cross at Harbo 4, that's 100% VSH, and washing at 3% and 2%. There's a higher degree of 4 at 2% wash. So you could honestly get to that point, and you could run that colony treatment-free through the winter and then test her again in the spring and verify or validate that, especially if you're starting from stock that's got a history of being treated. Because you have to have that mite pressure throughout the course of the season to demonstrate whether or not it's resistant.
So can I ask a question real quick? I know Charlie, your feelings on this, and I'm pretty much, my feelings are the same. So the apivar, I'm gonna make sure I get the strip. The apivar strips are no good. They're like, I will not buy them ever again.
That's where I'm at.
Correct.
Okay. All
and
right.
I mean, it's not my opinion. It was what
They
the results
don't work.
I got back from the National Honeybee Survey.
They don't work.
Well, when I got a report back this year, my mite load was like 10 out of 300 bees.
Yeah.
Mm.
And a couple years prior, I had them come in. Now they did the testing about a month later than normal, and it was after Formic Pro. I had did Apivar, then I had did Formic Pro. Then she came in and did the testing, sent everything out to the laboratories, and I had a 0.2 mite infestation, less than 1%. So that kind of showed me that Formic was doing its job. This time she came in on the 6th week of the 6-week application of Apivar. And I was within, I'll say, 5 days of finishing up the Apivar treatment. And it was like 10 point something. It was actually 3.5 bees per 100 bees. And if you add that up by 3, you're at 10, almost 11.
No good. It don't work.
And we also, and she also commented on, are you going to back this this product up with another product? I said, yes. It happened to be the next Monday was going to be Labor Day weekend, which we were going to have a 4 or 5 day week of 80 degrees or less temperatures and low humidity, which to me is not on the packaging, but for me, I believe humidity plays a big part as far as queen failure and stuff like that, along with that product. And anyway, I said yes, and she said, yeah, well, look at the drones that were up on top of the frames, you know, that you could see the mites on the drones. And that's a pretty darn good indicator right there.
Is James still there?
I think he's frozen.
He's frozen.
Oh, there he is.
There we go. There we go.
So there's, you know, my opinion of it. Yes. As far as I'm concerned, Apivar is no good. I think maybe why we're having a big bee death out in the Midwest. I'm not sure.
I'll never spend another dollar on Apivar.
And then the Apivar 2.0 is it's coming out with half dose instead of the full dose that's in there now. I don't know how that's going to work. And then, you know, I still see like Ian up there dropping strips in, and I'm like, I know because of the environment up there, it's a different situation, but is it going to work? That's my question.
Well, here's the thing with Apivar. I don't use it, or I probably won't use it because it's synthetic, and I don't want to use a synthetic.
Yeah.
But the mites have developed resistance to it, just like they have the Kumfas and all the other ones. But if it's used in a rotation, or you have Apivar resistant or Amitraz resistant mites in some of your colonies, you very well may encounter, you know, a lack of effect. So that's why, you know, again, SBGMI stresses the importance of, you know, IPM, especially biotechnical or physical mechanical, because you're going to get man, I got drone frames out in those colonies right now. I pull that drone frame, I'm not going to have a whole lot of mite problems for a while, because that's going to knock them down significantly. Yep. But you want to rotate your treatment. If you use Apivar and you're monitoring, you're going to know if your Apivar has been effective or not. So this is where the crossroad is. Typically, people have been able to just drop the Apivar in, you know, set it and forget it, because it was the golden ticket. But it just comes back to you have to monitor. If you don't know what the efficacy of your kill is, you're sitting at the slot machine and putting in pennies, right? You never know when you're going to hit. So the odds are against you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I treat about 8 months out of the year. I use oxalic acid. I use formic acid. I'm going to try to use some Aprigard, which is thymol, pretty much all organics and all that stuff. So, well, it's 23 minutes after 10. I'm going to go ahead and shut the stream down, and we will see you all here next Friday, I believe. I think I'll be in town. I'll be going out to Georgia Sunday morning, pick up a truckload of bees, or at least help a friend pick up a truckload of bees. So until next time, we'll catch you all later.
Yep. I'll see you Monday night, 8 o'clock.
8
Yep.
o'clock.
Bees all day.